Hello, fellow HSPs. I'm Julie Bieland, and I'm a psychotherapist that specializes in the highly sensitive person, also called sensory processing sensitivity. So, Elaine Aron, one of the pioneers to really researching this trait, has come up with an acronym that describes our experience as HSPs, highly sensitive people. And that acronym spells out the word DOES, D-O-E-S. D is for depth of processing. O is for overstimulation. E is for emotional reactivity and empathy. And S is for sensing subtleties. Now we go back into each one of those just for a little brief description of that, and you might be able to see yourself in that a little bit. Depth of processing, we actually have research that shows that we process things more deeply, and that has both positives and negatives attached to it in some ways, or I should actually say positives and challenges. But we can process things so deeply that we can come up with very creative ideas. We can see different angles around different options. That can also make it really hard to make decisions. A lot of us have a hard time making decisions and don't want to make mistakes in making a decision. And if we're taking in so much information, it makes sense that we would experience overstimulation, and that's part of the trait as well. Some of the research shows that we actually take in more as HSPs, but we also experience more stress with taking that in, and they've done some tasks that's interesting. You can see on some of Elaine Aron's research that she's posted on her website. The E is for emotional reactivity and empathy. Now, it's very interesting because in some of the brain research, they discovered that HSPs take in more, we're actually more affected by both positives and negatives. And there's something called vantage sensitivity, and that has to do with we benefit more from positive things as well, and especially if we've had a particular kind of childhood that was supportive of who we are as sensitive people. Part of that emotional reactivity also has to do with, and this is really interesting because I've done some brain scans to show this in the highly sensitive brain, that we actually have something called a brain mirror neuron system that is more activated. That means that we'll literally fire the same neurons of somebody that we're watching. So if we see somebody crying, for example, we'll experience some of the same neurons firing as the person experiencing the pain that they're in that moment. So we have a greater activation in the region of our brain called the insula. Also, that we tend to savor really positive outcomes, and that also, if you combine that with our depth of processing, that means we tend to be people that perform quite high in our jobs, and that actually shows up in the research as well. But it also shows up that we have higher stress levels, so we need to learn skills to manage the stress. Sensing the subtle, we can read nonverbal cues, for example, maybe even certain facial expressions that up to 80 to 85% of the population cannot read, and that's pretty remarkable. And we're taking in a lot, we're observing a lot, we have a lot of intuition and so many gifts of this trait. In my work with HSPs all over the world, I've seen how much we share in our challenges as well, because we're taking in a lot, and that's making life hard in lots of ways because we haven't really been taught how to manage what I call these kind of supercomputer brains. And there are specific techniques that help us reduce our stress, help us understand why our brain is experiencing what it does, and how to make some adjustments in life that have long-lasting impact, and it's sort of a domino effect. If we understand the particular types of self-care and downtime that we might need as an HSP, and we can give ourselves some of those tools, it's really amazing how much that impacts our entire life, and it lasts. So I teach these in both my book and my course. It's called Brain Training for the Highly Sensitive Person, Techniques to Reduce Anxiety and Overwhelming Emotions. And I'm just really passionate about helping HSPs learn how to thrive and have access to these incredible gifts that we have, that we all share as HSPs. So you can check out some of my other videos. I'm really passionate about spreading awareness and education of the trait and helping you thrive as a HSP. Take good care of yourself.